Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm going to be featuring the Waterfront Stamp set again today, and we're going to create another mountain scene with a bit of mist. Alright, before we start, I just want to announce the winner of the Blossoming Basket Bundle, and we're going to congratulate Genie Rosenblum. Yay! Alright, thanks a lot everyone for playing, and Genie, shoot me an email and I'll get you set up with this bundle. Alright, we're going to get started with today's card. Here's a quick look of it. And I think I captured it pretty well with the mist and all. We're going to get started with Smoky Slate, and this will be our base color. And we're going to use the mountain stamp. And just note the orientation of how I'm stamping with this stamp. So you can see like there's two sections that kind of separates. So basically those two parts on that stamp, excluding the tip, which is the end of that stamp. You don't want that part. And then that last part I just did, I just inked up half of those two sections. So again, here's the two sections, and now we're going to stamp just the one section. And what we're doing is, because of the orientation of this stamp, we're building a mountain from right to left. And these mountains are going to be more rectangular opposed to triangular. So I guess you can call them kind of like the Colorado mountains. All right, so we're doing this again. So we're doing the two sections, excluding that little tip. And then we're going to do one section, and then we'll just build that out to the left. So pretty easy so far. And then we'll do two low ones on the right side of that panel. And I did flip over the stamp to create a couple of details there, but you're not going to notice it. So I would just kind of skip that part because we're going to have a tree on that side. And then with black ink, we're going to be doing trees on the left side. So we're going to do the 3 trees first and just stamp it before the stump. And we're going to build out the tree to make it look a little bit fuller. I did dab off the tip just so that I wouldn't load up too much ink. And I'm just kind of stamping left to right and then all the way down. And now I'm just going to fuss a little bit and straighten out that tree. And I think I'm happy with that. And now we're going to do the other side, but I'm just going to ink up 2 of the trees on that stamp. And again, we're going to go a little bit left, a little bit right, just to get a fuller tree. That one I went middle, left, right. All right, so this next part, we're going to stamp the trees in the center of the panel. I did stamp off a bit, and then second and third generation. Just lightly stamp off. You don't have to stamp off really hard. And then after this part here, I did clean off my stamp, and now I'm just inking up one of the trees just so that I have a bit more control. And I'm going to stamp a couple of trees a little bit closer on that panel, and then I'll make it a little bit taller. All right, that's it for the trees. And now we're going to add some contrast to the mountains. And I'm using that mountain stamp again, just like I did earlier, but this time with the black ink. And I do stamp off so that we can create kind of a fuzzy or a hazing look. Yeah, that's what we'll call it today. You want to create dark tones, some medium tones, and then leave some white areas. And that way the image pops a lot more. And the image will look much more dimensional. All right, so we're going to be using Marina Mist for the sky. But first, we're going to try out that Tombow eraser and remove some of the black ink that I left at the top of the mountains. And it worked pretty good, but once you hit it with the ink, it will emphasize the areas that you erased. But I'm not going to fuss too much about it because it's going to fade a little bit, and then we're going to load it up with the stars at the top there, and that will help kind of disguise it a bit. I added Dapper Denim also just to get that a little bit darker. And you want the left side darker and then fade to the right. And then I did add just a little bit at the bottom of that panel. All right, we're going to use some white pigment ink and a little dauber, and we're just going to dab across the panel, or we're going to dab across the mountain, starting in the center, just lightly adding the pigment ink, and then over to the left trees, really light and soft. And then also we're going to do the same thing on the trees at the right and also the middle trees. Now I was a little heavy-handed on the bottom tree there, but you can just swipe it a bit with your finger just to soften it up. And you want the pigment ink much more concentrated on the center part of that mountain. So I basically just kept loading that center part until it looked pretty white. And that way it gives you that illusion that there's a big concentration of mist in the center of that mountain and then light mist around the trees. Hopefully I captured that, although I tend to be a little heavy-handed. And if you are, just dab a bit off with your finger and it'll soften it up a lot more. And then we're going to add some dots on the trees for snow. And that helps soften up the mist a bit too. Now this is the part where I'm just loading up the top with the stars. But then I decided I wanted to add a couple of twinkling stars at the top of the mountain. I used a white gel pen and added 3 dots. And then I grabbed a Q-tip and loaded it with some pigment ink. And then blotted it off onto a paper towel. And now I'm just doing the same thing on each of those dots just to create some soft edges. And this is where I decided to add some Night of Navy just to get that sky a little bit deeper. And if you happen to be a little bit too heavy-handed creating those twinkling stars, it will tone it down. And now I'm just reloading the stars on the left side, so much heavier on the left and then fade to the right. All right, now this card took me 30 minutes to create, which isn't too bad, but because I'm my worst critic, I decided that the mountains kind of look like they weren't enclosed because they somewhat to me appeared that they were kind of fading on the left side. So I decided to enclose them. I used the top part of that mountain and just added just a little bit on the tops, just so the mountains look a little more finished. And then I added a bit more detail using the other side of that stamp just to add a bit more contrast to that mountain. And I do like it a lot better. And then I dabbed it with the dauber with the white pigment ink on it just to soften up some of the edges that I created. All right, and then I stamped the sentiment and I did put it on a side folding card base. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's card. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.